This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, let's hear from the head coach, Brian Flores. He addressed the media today on Friday. Just got a couple big practices left before the season starts, man. So let's hear from the head coach, and let's go over his comments. Go for it.
I just want to follow up. I remember last year you telling us that you were the Turk once at one point in your NFL career. I want to know, who is your Turk now, and what's that experience like when you're having those conversations with guys, telling them that, hey, your dreams of playing in the NFL are deferred?
Well, we got some young, let's call it personnel, people who are handling that, as far as who's making the first, having that first conversation with the players. Then obviously they talk to Chris, and then they talk to me. That conversation is it's not an easy one. It's one that's, it's a delicate situation. Obviously the guys are disappointed who are being released. I try not to tell them that their dreams are over. But I do tell them that, hey, when one door closes, normally another one opens up. And I try to be supportive and, give them some good feedback that could help them in their next endeavor. In a lot of cases, there's opportunity to bring guys back to the practice squad. If that's the case, we'll let them know that. But we just try to be respectful and supportive and honest. And I think that's always the best way to handle, a tough conversation like that.
Cameron?
Hey, Flo, is there, I guess, a different strategy this year with the bigger practice squads about how you want to go about cutting guys to make sure you get them through? Like, I know some teams may do it a few days early or a day early to try to get their crew through. Is there any strategy behind that?
I think we have conversations on every situation. But as far as strategy for the practice squad, I think the additional practice squad players. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about who we would want on that, and that's almost its own kind of roster itself. How many linemen, how many corners, how many receivers. So as far as if there is a strategy on what day, I mean, I think no, to be honest, I think we're just going to kind of go through the normal process, and everyone who we release, we know that they're out there to potentially get claimed, and if they do get claimed, then we've got to move on to the next guy on our list. So from a strategy standpoint, I would no. But again, that's probably more of a question for Chris Brandon in the scouting department.
Good morning, Flo. Good morning, Flo. Question is, do you have captains at this time?
No, we don't have captains. So we'll go through that process, probably later in the week.
Adam Beasley?
This time last year, the outside weren't expecting the amount of moves you guys made this coming weekend with trades and cuts and picking up guys off the waiver wire. Obviously, you have a much more veteran team, much more established team this year than last year. Should we expect that kind of movement from you all this weekend, or you think you might be a little quieter?
Well, you never know, Adam. It depends on who's out there and who's available. And we look at everyone. And if we feel like there's a player out there that can help us, then we have those conversations. Last year is, it's different than this year. So we'll see. You never know who's going to be on the wire, who's going to get released, who's going to become available. I don't want to kind of pigeonhole us and say, hey, we're just, we're good with where we're at. Because if we can get better, we're going to try to get better. So I think that's going to always be the approach.
Cameron?
Hey Flo, we had heard from I guess some of the DBs in GA earlier a couple weeks ago about the point system that they're doing. You guys are doing to kind of encourage turnovers, hands on the ball. I wanted to see if you can kind of give me your perspective on that strategy, and then maybe what's the state of the competition as camp wraps up.
I mean, look, turnovers. I mean, they're hugely important in a lot of cases, a deciding factor between wins and losses in this league. So we're very conscious of obviously trying to secure the ball offensively and in the kicking game, and try to take it away defensively and in the kicking game. It's something we try to spend a lot of time on. The more turnovers, the better chance of victory. So, look, my message to our staff was any way we can, create more urgency, more energy, more competition, and maybe a competitive point system. If that's what does it, and puts more emphasis and more. What's the word I'm looking for? And more emphasis on trying to create turnovers and it works, then I'm all for it. So as far as the state of where we're at, I'll let GA handle that, Josh and the defensive staff. I'm doing some other things.
Omar?
Getting back to the captains, what's your thought process when trying to put that team together, that unit together? Do you have a leadership council? Do you expect it to be one person from every unit? How is it player voted, not player voted, selected?
It's player voted. I think that's the right way to do it. Allow the players to select who they feel are, the leaders on the team, that they want to speak for them. Because those captains, we have a captains meeting every week, and we have conversations about everything from the schedule to game plan to any issues surrounding the team. So I think that's where the players make their selection, and I talk to them about that and the role of the captains. It's not just on the field, which that's part of it also, but it's on and off the field, the locker room, anything that they feel like they need, on, off, scheduling. I mean, it's a big role, and it's not one, I think it's an important choice for the players. I try to make mention of that as well. It's not a popularity contest. This is a serious kind of position, and they should take it seriously.
Hal?
Hi, Brian. Now that we're at the tail end of training camp, given what we're up against this summer with no OTAs and so forth, where are you in terms of preparedness? How far behind are you compared to if you had a full off-season training program?
Compared to years past, we're 10 OTA practices and 3 minicamp practices behind. But every team is in the same boat. So, us being a young team with a lot of rookies and a lot of new players, that's where we're at. We've done. I feel like we've worked hard. We've improved. But as far as where we're at versus past years, that's what it is. But it's that way for every team. We're not making excuses or pointing fingers or placing blame or anything like that. It's what it is, and more time. It's always better, but that's not what we have. And I think the guys have worked really hard, and trying to build that continuity, which that takes time, as you guys know. But I think they're working towards that, and like any year, hopefully we're better. 2, 4, 6, 10 weeks from now than we are today.
One of the things, let me elaborate a little bit on that, because this is going to be a challenge for every team out there. If Kansas City, I think it's a lot less of a challenge for them. Not because they won the Super Bowl, it's because that team's pretty much established. You know what I mean? And so it's going to be tough for Miami. What I love about Flo, one of the things that I like about him, and I kind of run this with my life, I don't make excuses. You know, you screw up, and you address it, and you move on. You got a challenge. You know what it is. You got to face it. No complaining about it or trying to find some negative about it. All that's going to do is set you back on trying to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish today, for the next week, for the next month, for the entire year, for your lifetime. It doesn't matter. It's a waste of time. And it's a waste of time right now complaining about what you're in or even thinking about it. What you got to do is what he's doing. Just go to work every day, man. Do your best every day. Try to prepare yourself. And then hopefully your team will follow suit. And I want to remind you, this is the team that started 0-7. This is the team that finished 5-4. This is the team that beat New England at the end of the year when New England was an established team and needed that win for that bye week. Okay? And they weren't that good. They really needed that bye week. Okay? And they didn't get it because Miami took it away from them. What I will say, and I've said this already for months now, okay? He is perfectly suited for this kind of a season. I don't know if Zach Taylor is in Cincinnati. I know Adam Gase isn't in with the Jets, okay? Guaranteed. I'm not sure about some of the other coaches around the league. But I know this guy here is going to make his players not point fingers, not worry about that, you know, it's a condensed season, not worry about that you don't have enough practices. Focus on what you got to do today. Focus on the game plan for this week. And I think that's what he'll do. And the good thing, let me give you a bright side to all of this, that this did not happen last year, that we didn't have COVID last year. Because in his first year to then deal with no offseason, all of that, that would have been brutal. At least he has a group of players that helped him establish the culture last year, and that those players, along with some of the leaders he already added, like Van Noy, will help out in establishing that culture. That you remember how I talked about earlier that the Heat have Jay Crowder, and they have Jimmy Butler, and they have Iguodala, and they have Goran, and they've got Olynyk, and they've got some veteran guys that can then teach and lead the heroes and the Bams of the world and teach them, hey, Kendrick, this is how you do it. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And that balance has been really good. Well, he has some of that balance. He added a couple of veterans in Byron Jones and Kyle Van Noy because he had to add a couple, right? Along with the guys that he already has established, the Wilkins kid, Godchow, guys like that will help on defense and lead and what they've got to do. So this transition, it's going to be tough for everybody. But I do feel that the Dolphins at least has a guy in place in Brian Flores that is really well suited to handle all this chaos. One more thing. Somebody brought it up yesterday, actually, and one guy goes to me, I think it was on the text, you know, I love Brian Flores, but man, the press conferences are brutal with the ums and all that. You got to understand this, okay? When you're a Patriots coach, you don't talk to the media. They keep you under wraps the entire time. It's Belichick, and that's it. And so, in other teams, you get to go interview the wide receivers coach and the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach. Coach lets you do that. Belichick doesn't. So what does that do? That prepares you. So when you do become a head coach, you've been in front of the media. You've been handling it, all of that. You see how Flo lets some of his assistant coaches talk? They don't do that in New England. And when you're under wraps for so many years like that, and you've never done this, then all of a sudden you're thrusted in there. He's not a public speaker. It's not what he does. You know what I mean? He's a football coach. And he also, you got to remember, he's also thinking about what he's saying to make sure it gets out the right way and it doesn't get in the way. You know what I'm saying? And we've pointed that out many times. Okay? But give the man a break. Look, not everybody's Pat Riley. Okay? He's just a special dude. Pat Riley looks good. He sounds great. He knows how to deliver everything. He knows how to leave meat on the bone for the reporters. He knows how to use the media to send a message to players. You know, he's a master. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, not everybody's built like that. So give Flo a break, okay? Because I forgot to address that yesterday.
There was that one question where, you know, the lack of camps and this, and it almost felt like he was going to say, well, we're young, you know, it's going to be harder for us. And he didn't go there.
Right.
You know, it almost like he was going to say it, and then we're like everybody else.
Yeah, he's not going to make excuses. That's not his style. All right, go ahead.
10 weeks from now than we are today.
Steve won.
Brian, with the news coming out that Cam Newton is going to start for the Patriots next week, how much does that help? How much does that affect your preparation for the game?
I mean, I think we all had an inkling that was going to be the case. So, I mean, we were preparing for all three quarterbacks. So, and we'll still continue. We'll still do that. I mean, you always got to prepare for the backup, and you have to know who the third quarterback is, if there is one. The same at all positions. You know, you want to know who the O-line is and who the backups are on the O-line and who the D-line is and who the backups are on the D-line. So, but, you know, with him being named the starter, I mean, we've watched a lot of film on Cam. I will continue to do that, but we'll also watch Hoyer and Stidham and, you know, the rest of the guys on that team. They're very talented. They're, you know, obviously a well-coached team. You know, it's hard to win on the road, so we'll. It'll be a challenge. We know that. And doesn't matter who the quarterback is, it'll be a challenge against that team.
Now you got to answer that way, and let's just call bullshit. He was expecting Cam Newton to be the guy. You're expecting Cam Newton to be the guy. I'm expecting Cam Newton to be the guy. They weren't preparing for Jarrett Stidham, okay? And the other clown, what's his name? The kid that's floated around Cleveland and there or whatever, he's just a terrible passer. I forgot his name now.
Hoyer,
there, Brian Hoyer. Oh my God, garbage, straight ass hot garbage. So, you preparing for Brian Hoyer is like, let me take an 18-hour nap. You know what I'm saying? And just like, give me a break. They were preparing for Cam Newton from the get-go. They're preparing for all kinds of run type of schemes, all of that, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to do a lot of running. I don't think this thing's going to last. I don't think it's going to work, but whatever. It'll be fun, but please, let's just call it like we see it here. They were preparing for Cam Newton. Go ahead.
Time for one more. We'll go to Safid.
Hey, Coach. Yesterday there was a report that the team was kind of taking calls for Josh Rosen. You know, whether that's true or not, could trading away Rosen maybe lend for the opportunity for Tua to play maybe a little bit earlier than you want to play him?
Not gonna answer.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, you know, the rumors about Josh, I think it's the day before cut down day, and I think there's a lot of names that are floating around, and we're fielding calls left and right. Or I know Chris is about Josh, and you know, probably a handful of other players, and I think that's the case across the league. As far as, you know, Tua, as you mentioned, you know, we no decisions have been made. You know, we're just we're gonna go out here and practice today and make the decisions, on the roster tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, we're taking fielding calls on everybody. Well, not everybody, but on a handful of players, and I think every team is doing the same thing. But again, Josh has competed. Josh has made some great throws. Josh is, I think he's gotten better over the course of training camp. So, I mean, that's where we are with him. And that's really, hopefully that answers your question.
That is the head coach, Brian Flores. He wasn't going to answer anything specific because he can't. It wouldn't make any sense. The interesting part of that is, we're fielding questions of several players. And then you have to start thinking about it. Who would it be? Would it be X? But he's injured, coming off injury, and the domestic issue. The offers are probably low right now. Josh Rosen, the offers are probably low right now. What are you going to trade? Jesse Davis? Just what else? You know what I mean? Aren't really a lot of options for them to trade. But of course they're going to be, listen, you should be fielding offers every day from everybody and anybody. What do you got? What do you want to offer? Oh, you want Tua? What do you want to offer? Anybody should be available. If the offer's crazy enough, you take it, like Tunsil. You got to take it. So it's
if you have a dinghy and they bring you a yacht, I'm trading for the yacht, right?
Exactly. It's one of those it's one of those obvious things to do.
More than likely, though, we're talking guys that are probably going to be decent back, that are 5, 6, 7, 6th, 7th rounders maybe that you could get. Because I got to think, man, with all the young guys we got and everything, we're gonna release some guys that are gonna land on teams. Correct?
Maybe. Well, there's no doubt because they didn't get a good look at a lot of people like everybody else. Everybody might be releasing a guy they might regret.
And rather than just throw him to the heap, get something back in return if you can.
Why not? Why not?